The massive alien ship appeared without warning outside Earth's orbital station. It was 3 times larger than anything humans had ever built. Its dark metal surface covered in strange symbols that seemed to glow with their own light. Captain. Lisa Bennett stood at the observation deck, watching as 11 more ships materialized around the first one. Each ship was different, representing different alien races, but all of them shared the same threatening presence. Admiral Morrison to the bridge. Lisa spoke into her communication device. Her voice was steady, but her heart was beating fast. In all her years as commander of the defense station, she had never seen anything like this. Admiral Jake Morrison arrived within minutes. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm blue eyes. At 55 years old, he had served Earth's space forces for over 30 years. Nothing seemed to shake him, and today was no different. He looked at the alien fleet through the large windows and simply nodded. "Have they tried to communicate?" he asked. "Yes, sir. They're requesting permission to dock. They say they represent something called the Galactic Council of 12. Morrison's expression did not change. "Grant them permission. Have security teams ready, but keep them hidden." "And Lisa?" "Yes, sir. Record everything." 2 hours later, the aliens walked through the station's main corridor. The leader was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and forearms. His name was Ambassador Zeeth Karan, and he moved with the confidence of someone who had never been told no. Behind him walked representatives from 11 other species. Some looked almost human, while others were so strange that the station crew had to fight not to stare. They gathered in the main conference room. Morrison sat across from them, his hands folded on the table. He had brought only 2 other people with him, Captain Bennett and Dr. Kevin Walsh, Earth's chief science advisor. The aliens seemed amused by the small human delegation. "Humans of Earth," Zeeth Karan began, his voice carrying a strange musical quality. "We are the Galactic Council of 12. We represent the most advanced civilizations in this galaxy. We have come here today to offer you a choice." Morrison said nothing. He simply waited. Zeeth Karan continued. "Your species has grown too quickly. In less than 200 years, you have spread from one world to multiple star systems. You consume resources at an alarming rate. You build weapons instead of art. You fight wars instead of seeking peace. This behavior threatens the stability of our galaxy." One of the other aliens, a creature that looked like a giant insect, clicked its mandibles together. "We have seen this pattern before," it said in a voice that sounded like grinding metal. 17 other species have followed the same path. They all became dangerous if left unchecked. What happened to those 17 species? Dr. Walsh asked quietly. Zeeth Karan's large eyes focused on him. They learned to serve the greater good. Their populations were reduced to manageable levels. Their aggressive tendencies were ... corrected. They now live peaceful lives working for the benefit of all civilized species. Morrison felt a cold chill run down his spine, but his face showed nothing. "You enslaved them. We civilized them." Another alien corrected. This one looked like a tall, thin human, but with silver skin and no hair. "They are happier now. They have purpose. They serve something greater than their own selfish desires." Zeeth Karan leaned forward. "Which brings us to our offer to humanity. You will surrender 80% of your population to us. They will be transported to various worlds throughout the galaxy, where they will work in mines, factories, and farms. The remaining 20% will stay on Earth under our guidance. You will stop your expansion into space. You will destroy your weapons. You will accept our rule." The room fell silent. Captain Bennett could hear her own heartbeat. Dr. Walsh's hand was gripping his tablet so tightly his knuckles were white. But Morrison just sat there, looking at the aliens with the same calm expression he had worn when they arrived. "And if we refuse?" Morrison asked. Zethkaran smiled, showing teeth that were too sharp and too many. "Then we will demonstrate why the other 17 species chose to accept our guidance. Your planet will be turned into glass. Every human city will be destroyed. Your species will become extinct. It is not a difficult choice. We have done this many times before," the insect alien added. "Some species fight at first. They always surrender when they see what our weapons can do. It is better to accept our offer now and save yourselves the pain of resistance." Morrison stood up slowly. The aliens watched him, expecting fear, anger, or desperation. Instead, they saw something they did not expect, a small smile. "Gentlemen and ladies," Morrison said, looking at each alien in turn, "you have made your position very clear. We appreciate your visit and your generous offer. We will need time to consider our response." Zethkaran's confidence wavered slightly. "Time? There is nothing to consider. You have no choice in this matter." "Everyone has choices," Morrison replied. "The question is whether they have the courage to make them. We need 72 hours to prepare our response." 72 hours, Zethkaran agreed. "But do not mistake our patience for weakness. Our ships will remain here. If you attempt to flee or call for help from other worlds, we will act immediately." Morrison nodded. "Understood. Captain Bennett will escort you back to your ships." As the aliens filed out of the room, Dr. Walsh waited until they were gone before speaking. "Jake, they have 12 massive warships. Our entire fleet couldn't scratch the paint on one of those things. What are we going to do?" Morrison walked to the window and looked out at the alien fleet. The ships hung in space like dark threats against the stars. But instead of fear, his eyes showed something else entirely: anticipation. "Kevin," he said quietly, "make a call to the Prometheus Project. Tell them it's time." Dr. Walsh felt his blood run cold. The Prometheus Project was so classified that most government officials didn't even know it existed. "Are you sure?" Morrison turned back to him, and for the first time, Walsh saw the full weight of what was coming in the Admiral's eyes. "They think they're the hunters," Morrison said. "They're about to learn they're wrong." The call went out from Earth within minutes of the aliens returning to their ships. Across the planet, people received messages on their phones, computers, and televisions. But this was not a message of panic or fear. President Rachel Davis appeared on every screen with a face that was calm and determined. "My fellow citizens," she began, "today we received visitors from space. They have made demands that no free people can accept. They want us to surrender most of our population to slavery. They threaten to destroy us if we refuse." In living rooms across Earth, families gathered around their screens. Children looked worried, but their parents seemed strangely calm. It was as if they had been expecting this day. "I want you to know that we are not afraid," President Davis continued. "We are not going to panic. We are not going to surrender. We have been preparing for this moment longer than you know. Go about your daily lives. Trust in your government. Trust in your military. Trust in the strength of humanity." The message ended, and across the world, something remarkable happened. People did exactly what their president had asked. Children went to school. Adults went to work. Families had dinner together. To anyone watching from the outside, Earth looked like a planet that had just received the most boring news of the day. On board the alien flagship, Zethkaran watched the human broadcasts with growing confusion. "This makes no sense," he told his second-in-command. "They should be running in terror. Their leaders should be begging us for mercy. Where is their fear?" "Perhaps they do not understand the danger they are in," suggested the insect alien, whose name was Clicktar. "These humans are young. They have never faced true power before. But deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, something very different was happening. Dr. Kevin Walsh walked through corridors that officially did not exist. The Prometheus Project had been humanity's most guarded secret for 30 years. It had consumed more money than any other project in human history, and only a handful of people knew what it was really for. Dr. Walsh reached a massive underground chamber where hundreds of people worked at computers and control panels. The room hummed with energy, and screens everywhere showed data that would have been impossible to understand just a few years ago. "Status report," Walsh said to the woman in charge. Colonel Amy Parker turned to face him. She was a small woman, with short brown hair and eyes that missed nothing. For 15 years, she had been in charge of humanity's most dangerous weapons. "All systems are green, Doctor. We've been tracking their ships since they arrived. We know their positions, their energy signatures, and their weapon capabilities. And our response? Ready and waiting. The asteroid belt factories came online 20 minutes ago. Our satellite network is fully active. The sleeper ships have reported in from across the galaxy." She paused and smiled. "We've been ready for this day for a very long time." In orbit around Jupiter, massive factories that looked like ordinary asteroids began to work. For decades, automated systems had been mining and building in secret. Now they started producing weapons that no alien race had ever seen. Ships that could appear and disappear at will. Weapons that could turn energy against itself. Defense. Systems that could make entire planets invisible. On the moon, Dr. Sarah Kim watched as the lunar defense grid powered up. Hidden beneath the moon's surface were weapons powerful enough to crack a planet in half. But they were not designed to destroy worlds. They were designed to capture entire enemy fleets without firing a shot. "How long until full power?" she asked. Her assistant. "6 hours, Doctor. All defense grids will be online and ready." Meanwhile, the alien fleet waited in space around Earth. They monitored human communications, expecting to hear desperate military orders and panic. Instead, they heard something that made no sense at all. Traffic report for downtown Chicago shows normal delays on the highway system. The stock market closed up 15 points today. Local school districts remind parents that tomorrow is Picture Day. Commander Seth Karan called an emergency meeting with his fellow council members. Their holographic forms appeared in his ship's command center, each one more confused than the last. "What is happening on this world?" demanded Vexhari, the silver-skinned alien. "We have threatened them with extinction, and they are worried about traffic and school pictures. Perhaps their leaders have not told their people about our ultimatum," suggested another council member. "We monitored their broadcasts," Seth Karan replied. "Their president told everyone. The whole planet knows we are here. They know what we have demanded, and they simply do not care." Kliktar's mandibles clicked nervously. This is not normal behavior. When we threatened the Zephyrians, their entire planet fell into chaos within hours. The Markellians surrendered before we even finished speaking. But these humans are either the bravest species we have ever encountered, Seth Karan said slowly, or the most foolish. Back on Earth, Admiral Morrison stood in a room that was deeper underground than most people could imagine. Around him, screens showed the positions of every alien ship, every human defense, and every secret weapon humanity had built over the past 3 decades. Captain Lisa Bennett joined him, along with dozens of other officers whose names were not in any public record. These were the people who had spent their entire careers preparing for this day. "Sir," Bennett said, "all stations report ready. The Nemesis and her sister ships are in position. The Liberation fleets are standing by. All Council homeworlds are under surveillance." Morrison nodded. "And our friends?" "The 17 enslaved species have received our message. They are ready to rise up when we give the signal. One of the other officers, a young man named Lieutenant Ben Torres, looked up from his console. Admiral, we're detecting increased activity from the alien fleet. They're running deep scans of our planet. Let them look, Morrison replied. They'll only see what we want them to see. As night fell on Earth, children went to bed after their parents read them stories. Adults watched television and talked about their day at work. Teenagers did homework and complained about their teachers. To any observer, it looked like the most normal day in the history of the world. But beneath the surface, humanity was preparing for war. In hidden bases around the world, weapons that could reshape reality itself were being prepared. Ships that could travel faster than light were receiving their final orders. Soldiers who had trained their entire lives for this moment were checking their equipment one last time. And in the deepest, most secret facility on Earth, Admiral Morrison looked at a countdown timer that showed less than 60 hours remaining. Soon, he said to himself, very soon, they're going to learn why they should never have come here. The 72 hours passed like a normal weekend on Earth. People went shopping, visited friends, and enjoyed their time off work. Children played in parks while their parents watched calmly from benches. It was so normal that the alien observers began to wonder if humans were mentally damaged in some way. On board the flagship, Ambassador Zithkaran paced back and forth in his command center. His forearms moved restlessly as he tried to understand what he was seeing. 3 days, he muttered. 3 days, and they act as if we are not even here. Perhaps we should demonstrate our power, suggested Kliktar. A small show of force might help them understand their situation. Zethkaran stopped pacing. Yes, we will destroy their moon. It will show them what our weapons can do without harming their planet. Then they will beg us for mercy. The decision was made quickly. The Council fleet moved into attack formation around Earth. Every ship charged its main weapons, focusing them on the moon. The aliens had used this tactic before. Destroying a world's moon always brought immediate surrender. On Earth, Admiral Morrison sat in his underground command center, watching the alien ships move. Around him, dozens of officers monitored screens that showed every detail of the enemy fleet. The mood in the room was calm, almost relaxed. Sir, Captain Bennett reported, they're targeting the moon. All ships are charging weapons. Are our people ready? Morrison asked. Dr. Kim reports all lunar defenses are online and waiting. Morrison nodded. Then let's see what they've got. In space, the alien fleet completed its formation. 12 massive ships hung in the darkness, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. On the flagship, Zethkaran opened a communication channel to Earth. Admiral Morrison's face appeared on the alien screens. He sat calmly in his chair, his hands folded in his lap. Behind him, human officers worked quietly at their stations. Humans of Earth, Zethkaran announced, your time is up. You have not responded to our generous offer. Therefore, we will demonstrate what happens to those who defy the Galactic Council. Morrison smiled slightly. We have reviewed your offer very carefully. Then you surrender? Actually, we have a counteroffer for you. Zethkaran's eyes widened in surprise. Counteroffer? You are in no position to make demands. Morrison's smile grew wider. Our offer is simple. Leave our space immediately, or discover why you should have. The alien bridge fell silent. Then Zethkaran began to laugh, a sound like breaking glass. You threaten us? You primitive creatures. Dare to threaten the Galactic Council? Not a threat, Morrison replied calmly. Just a friendly warning. Zethkaran's laughter stopped. Rage filled his alien features. Destroy their moon, he ordered. Show them what real power looks like. Every ship in the alien fleet fired at once. Beams of energy that could crack planets shot through space toward the moon. The weapons were powerful enough to turn the entire lunar surface into molten rock. The aliens watched their screens, waiting to see the moon explode. Nothing happened. Energy beams simply stopped. They hit some kind of invisible barrier around the moon and disappeared. Not reflected, not absorbed. They just stopped existing. What? Zethkaran stared at his screens in confusion. Fire again. The fleet fired a second time. The same thing happened. Massive amounts of energy struck the moon and simply vanished without a trace. On the moon, Dr. Sarah Kim watched her instruments with satisfaction. Energy absorption at 98% efficiency, she reported to Earth. Their weapons are actually charging our power grid. Morrison's voice came through her communicator. Excellent work, Sarah. Now show them what we can do with their energy. Dr. Kim pressed a series of buttons on her control panel. Gravitational field generators coming online. Target lock acquired on all enemy vessels. In space around Earth, something invisible reached out and grabbed the alien ships. The massive vessels, each one the size of a city, suddenly found themselves unable to move. Their engines roared at full power, but they remained perfectly still in space. On the flagship, alarms began screaming. Kliktar ran to his instruments, his insect claws clicking rapidly on the controls. We cannot move, he reported in panic. Something is holding us in place. Impossible, Zethkaran snarled. Our ships are the most advanced in the galaxy. Nothing can trap us. Sir, another alien officer called out, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout their system. There are structures we did not see before. Weapons platforms, defense stations, ships that were not there an hour ago. Morrison's face reappeared on their screens. He was still smiling, but now his eyes were cold and dangerous. Gentlemen, let me explain something about humans. We have a saying, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. For 30 years, we have been preparing for visitors like you. This is impossible, Zethkaran whispered. You are a primitive species. Your technology is thousands of years behind ours. Was, Morrison corrected. It was behind yours. You see, we've been watching you for a very long time. We know about your empire. We know about the 17 species you enslaved. We know about your weapons, your tactics, and your weaknesses. Captain Bennett stepped into view behind Morrison. We also know about your homeworlds, she added cheerfully. Nice planets. We've had observation posts there for 15 years. Kliktar's mandibles clicked in terror. Observation posts? On our homeworlds? Oh yes, Morrison continued. We've been very busy. While you were conquering other species, we were learning about you. Every ship you built, every weapon you tested, every planet you attacked, we watched it all. Lieutenant Ben Torres appeared on another screen from somewhere in space. Behind him, the bridge of a ship that looked like nothing the aliens had ever seen glowed with strange lights. Admiral, this is the Nemesis. We have visual confirmation of all Council home worlds. Your people look very surprised to see us. Zethkaran felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Fear. What do you want? Morrison stood up from his chair. Around him, his officers continued working calmly, as if trapping an entire alien. Fleet was just another day at the office. What we want is very simple. You are going to release every enslaved species in your empire. You are going to disband your military forces. You are going to stand trial for crimes against thinking beings. And you are going to do it all very, very quietly. And if we refuse? Morrison's smile disappeared entirely. When he spoke again, his voice was like ice. Then you will discover that humans can be far more creative than you ever imagined. We've had 30 years to think about what we would do to people like you. 30 years to build weapons you cannot imagine. 30 years to plan for this exact moment. He leaned forward, and for the first time, Zethkaran saw the true face of humanity. Not the face of victims or primitives, but the face of predators, who had been hunting in silence for decades. The question is not whether you will comply, Morrison said quietly. The question is whether you will do it the easy way or the hard way. Choose carefully. This is the only choice we will give you. The alien fleet hung motionless in space, trapped like insects in a web they had not even seen being built. And, for the first time in their long history of conquest, the Galactic Council began to understand that they were no longer the hunters. They had become the prey. While the Council fleet remained trapped around Earth, something far more terrifying was happening across the galaxy. On 12 different worlds, the home planets of each Council species, people were going about their normal daily lives when strange ships appeared in their skies. On Veridius Prime, Hessian's home world, citizens looked up to see a sleek black vessel hovering silently above their capital city. The ship was unlike anything in their records. It had appeared without warning, bypassing every defense system they had built over thousands of years. General Kate Adams sat in the command chair of the stealth ship Nightfall, watching the alien city below through her screens. For 20 years, she had studied these beings, learned their language, and mapped their defenses. Now it was time to let them know they had been watched. Open communication channels, she ordered. All frequencies. Across the planet, every television, radio, and communication device activated at once. The face of a human woman appeared on millions of screens. She spoke in perfect Viridian, her words calm and clear. People of Veridius Prime, this is General Kate Adams of the Human Defense Force. We know you have been told that your government speaks for you. We know you have been told that enslaving other species is necessary for your survival. We are here to tell you the truth. In the government buildings below, panic spread through the Viridian leadership. Their most powerful warships were with Zethkaran at Earth. Their home defenses could not even see the human ship, let alone attack it. Your council has committed terrible crimes, General Adams continued. They have enslaved 17 different species. They have destroyed entire civilizations. They have done this in your name, using your taxes and your children to build their empire of slavery. Similar scenes played out on 11 other worlds. Human ships appeared above council capitals, their commanders speaking directly to alien populations. Captain Ben Torres hovered over the insect world of Clicktar's people. Commander Nina Foster appeared above the silver-skinned aliens' home planet. Each human captain delivered the same message. Your leaders are criminals, and their crimes are ending today. On Earth, Zethkaran watched the reports coming in from his home world with growing horror. How? He whispered. How did you get ships to our planets without us knowing? Admiral Morrison appeared on his screen again. Behind him, Dr. Kevin Walsh stepped into view carrying a tablet full of data. For 30 years, we have been building a network, Morrison explained. Small ships, hidden bases, observation posts throughout your territory. We have been watching and learning. Every time you conquered a species, we studied how you did it. Every time you moved your fleets, we tracked them. Every weakness in your defenses, we mapped it. Dr. Walsh held up his tablet. We know that your home defense fleet is currently on training exercises in the Outer Rim. We know that your emergency response teams need 4 hours to mobilize. We know that your planetary shields can be overloaded by targeting their power stations in the northern hemisphere. But we are not here to conquer you, Morrison continued. We are here to free the people you have enslaved. The real shock came when the human ships began broadcasting from the prison worlds. These were planets where the 17 enslaved species were forced to work in mines, factories, and farms. The council had told their people these were voluntary. Colonies, places where primitive species learned to become civilized. Captain Lisa Bennett commanded the Liberation Fleet moving toward the mining world of Kethmora. For generations, the Zephyrians had been forced to work in underground mines, digging rare metals for the Council's war machine. Their population had been reduced from billions to millions through overwork and poor treatment. "This is Captain Bennett of the Human Liberation Fleet," she announced as her ships dropped out of hyperspace around the prison world. "To the Zephyrian people, your enslavement ends today. To the Council guards, surrender immediately or face the consequences." The Council guards tried to fight. Their weapons were powerful, designed to control entire populations. But they had never faced human technology. Bennett's ships moved through their defenses like ghosts, appearing and disappearing at will. Within an hour, every guard post was destroyed and every prison gate was opened. Similar operations happened on 16 other worlds. Human fleets appeared at every prison planet, every slave colony, every forced labor camp. The enslaved species, some of whom had been in chains for generations, watched in amazement as their guards fled or surrendered. But the most terrifying moment for the Council came when they realized how long humans had been preparing for this day. On Vexhari's home world, the silver-skinned aliens discovered that some of their own government officials were actually human agents who had been living among them for years. Agent Mark Johnson had spent 15 years posing as a Vexhari diplomat. His surgically altered appearance and perfect language skills had fooled everyone, even his alien wife. Now he stood in the Vexhari Parliament, his disguise removed, speaking into cameras that broadcast across the planet. "My name is Mark Johnson," he said. "I am a human intelligence officer. For 15 years, I have lived among you, learned your culture, and reported on your government's activities. You are good people who have been led by criminals. Today, those criminals answer for their crimes." The psychological impact was devastating. If humans could place agents that deep in their society, what else had they infiltrated? How many of their secrets were known? How long had they been watched? On Earth, the trapped Council fleet received reports from across their empire. Every military base was under human surveillance. Every government building had been mapped. Every secret weapon had been located and neutralized. Kliktar's insect voice trembled as he spoke. "This is impossible. You are one small planet. We are 12 advanced civilizations with thousands of worlds." Lieutenant Ben Torres appeared on their screens from the bridge of the Nemesis. "Actually, you're 12 corrupt governments ruling populations who never wanted to hurt anyone. Your people are good. You are not." He gestured to someone off screen, and new images appeared. These showed Zephyrians, Markellians, and 15 other enslaved species standing together on liberated worlds. They were not alone. Human soldiers stood beside them, but they were not conquerors. They were protectors. "We have something you never understood," Torres continued. "We have friends. Real friends, not slaves. Every species you enslaved has been sending us information for years. They told us about your weaknesses, your plans, your fears. They helped us prepare for this day." Morrison stepped back into view on the main screen. "The galaxy is changing. Today, your empire of slavery is ending. Your fleets are surrendering. Your prison worlds are being liberated. And your people are learning the truth about what you have done in their names." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. "You have two choices. You can surrender now and stand trial for your crimes. Or you can watch as everything you have built crumbles around you while your own people turn against you. Either way, your reign of terror is over." Zethkaran looked around his bridge at his fellow council members. Their faces showed the same expression, the terrible realization that they had not just lost a battle. They had lost a war that had been fought for 30 years, without them even knowing it was happening. The hunters had become the hunted, and there was nowhere left to run. 3 days after the liberation began, Ambassador Zeth-Karan sat in his command chair staring at reports that seemed impossible. Every council military base had surrendered. Every prison world was free. Every enslaved species was celebrating their freedom. Across the galaxy, council governments were collapsing as their own people demanded answers. His fleet still hung motionless around Earth, trapped by invisible forces they could not understand or fight. Worse, they had become a symbol of council. Failure. Every species in the galaxy could see the mighty Galactic Council held helpless by a single human planet. The communication screen activated, and Admiral Morrison appeared once again. But this time, he was not alone. Behind him stood representatives from all 17 liberated species. Zephyrians with their blue skin and large eyes. Markellians with their fur-covered faces. The tall, thin Helix people. Species that had been enslaved for so long that many council citizens had forgotten they were once free. Ambassador Zeth-Karan, Morrison began, we have received responses from across the galaxy. Your military forces have surrendered. Your governments are facing revolution from their own people. Your empire is finished. Next to Morrison, a Zephyrian woman stepped forward. Her name was Elder Kira, and she had been a slave for over 50 years. When she spoke, her voice carried the pain of generations. My people remember freedom, she said. We remember our cities, our art, our children playing in gardens that your soldiers burned. We remember the day you came and told us we were too primitive to govern ourselves. A Markellian male joined her. His people had been enslaved for even longer. Your species told us that slavery was for our own good, that we were happier serving you than ruling ourselves. You took our children and trained them to forget their own names. One by one, each species spoke. They told stories of families torn apart, cultures destroyed, and entire worlds turned into prisons. They spoke calmly, without anger, but their words carried more weight than any weapon. Finally, Morrison spoke again. The age of the Galactic Council is over. In its place, we establish the Galactic Federation of Free Worlds. Every species will govern itself. No one will be enslaved. No one will be conquered. This is not negotiable. Zeth-Karan found his voice at last. You cannot simply dissolve our government. We rule hundreds of worlds. Billions of people depend on our leadership. Captain Nina Foster, now wearing the uniform of the new Federation, appeared on screen from her ship orbiting Zeth-Karan's home world. Actually, your people are doing fine without you. Most of them are celebrating. They never wanted to be part of an empire built on slavery. She held up a tablet showing news broadcasts from across council space. On every world, populations were dismantling statues of their former leaders. Council buildings were being converted into schools and hospitals. The symbols of the empire were being erased by the very people who had been forced to build them. Your own children are leading the celebrations, Foster added. They are ashamed of what you did in their names. Dr. Kevin Walsh stepped forward on the main screen. We have prepared transition governments for every world. Local leaders chosen by their own people, not appointed by the council. Within 1 year, every species will have elected their own representatives to the new federation. What about us? Kliktar asked, his insect voice barely a whisper. What happens to the council members? Morrison exchanged glances with the liberated species representatives. Elder Kira nodded slowly. You will stand trial, Morrison announced. Not human justice, but justice administered by the species you enslaved. They will decide your fate according to their own laws and customs. Zeth-Karan felt the last of his arrogance crumble. And if we refuse? Lieutenant Ben Torres appeared. On screen from the Nemesis. Behind him, the liberated worlds of the former Council Empire shone like stars. Refuse? You are prisoners on your own ships, surrounded by people you spent centuries oppressing. You have no weapons, no allies, and no escape. What exactly do you think you can refuse? The reality hit Zeth-Karan like a physical blow. They had come to Earth expecting to add another species to their collection of slaves. Instead, they had triggered the collapse of their entire civilization. Humanity had not just defeated them. They had made their defeat look easy. Morrison's voice became gentler, but no less firm. The trial will be fair. You will have representatives to speak. For you, but you will answer for what you have done. The millions who died in your mines deserve justice. The families you destroyed deserve answers. The cultures you erased deserve recognition. General Kate Adams appeared on a smaller screen from Veridius Prime. Your home worlds are at peace now. Your people are working together to build something better. They asked me to tell you that they forgive you, but they will not forget what you did. Over the following hours, the details of the new galaxy were explained. The Galactic Federation would be governed by elected representatives from every member species. No single race would dominate. Military forces would be used only for defense, never conquest. Trade would be free and fair for all. Most importantly, there would be laws preventing what the Council had done. No species could enslave another. No government could conquer its neighbors. No empire could force its will on others. Captain Lisa Bennett, now serving as Earth's first Federation Admiral, outlined the enforcement mechanisms. We have learned from human history that laws without enforcement are just suggestions. The Federation will maintain peacekeeping forces, led by humans, to ensure these laws are followed. Why humans? Zeth-Karan asked. Morrison smiled for the last time in their conversation. Because we are very good at preparing for trouble. And because we understand something you never did. True strength comes from protecting others, not dominating them. The trial took 6 months. Representatives from every enslaved species testified about their experiences. The council members were allowed to defend themselves, though their arguments fell flat in the face of overwhelming evidence. In the end, they were sentenced not to death, but to service. They would spend the rest of their lives working to rebuild what they had destroyed. They would live on the worlds they had turned into prisons, helping to restore the cultures they had tried to erase. Zeth-Karan spent his final years teaching Zephyrian children about their history. The irony was not lost on him that he became a teacher on a world where he had once forbidden education. The galaxy changed. Species that had hidden in fear for centuries emerged to join the Federation. Art, science, and culture flourished as never before. Trade routes that had been controlled by the Council became open highways for all. And on Earth, in the deep underground chambers where humanity had planned for this day, Admiral Morrison watched reports from across the galaxy. Children of different species played together. Scientists from dozens of worlds worked on projects to heal planets damaged by Council strip mining. Artists created works celebrating freedom that had been impossible under the Empire. Captain Bennett joined him in the observation room. Any regrets? She asked. Morrison shook his head. We always knew this day would come. Some species would try to dominate others. The question was whether we would be ready. And we were. We were indeed. Morrison looked at the stars through the chamber's viewport. Now comes the harder part. Keeping the peace is always more difficult than winning a war. Bennett smiled. Well, we've got time to prepare for that too. Across the galaxy, former slaves became free citizens. Oppressors became servants of justice. And humanity took its place not as rulers of the stars, but as guardians of freedom. The Council had tried to blackmail humanity with the threat of extinction. Instead, They had discovered that some species should never be threatened at all. Because some species do not just fight back, they fight back so effectively that the entire galaxy changes forever. The age of empire was over. The age of freedom had begun.